All right, we got a couple things going on as usual. Pops is doing some work on the NSX. Jeremiah's changing up the charge piping situation over there, also on the NSX. I, on the other hand, am lost as usual. So I've got to set up the super on the dyno, which I've mostly more or less got set up. But what I got to do is find a key that I'm missing in my pocket. So we got this STI here that came from out of town, about 2.5 hours away or something like that. So he's got a couple issues here. So it's got a couple issues here. It's here for some ECU stuff, which is why they come here. So this car got hit with it was already tuned before, and then green speed happened and they couldn't tune the car fully or something along those lines. So it's here. We're going to put a link ECU into it. He's got a couple things that he needs to fix, or we need to fix rather. So this is one of them. Second thing is we need to add an IAT, and doing it on the stock top mount is always a complete pain in the ass. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to drive it over, check over kind of what problems that he has, and then have Jeremiah, or have Pops pull the top mount, and then have Jeremiah weld in an IAT bung today. So it supposedly is on a flex fuel tune by somebody, and we're gonna, hopefully by day's end, we'll get the access port set up, or unmarried, and then the link installed. Then he's got boxes of stuff back here, and I'm not sure what they are. So it's also here for like an actual legit flex fuel tune. So I guess they were starting flex fuel, but they never finished it because the green speed update happened. And the thing about it is I don't fault the tuner at all. Green speed happened literally overnight without anyone really knowing. I mean, Cobb was like silently yelling at us, you know, because they were slowly doing away with all their car illegal type stuff, if you will. So there was that. So like I said, I don't fault anybody on this one. And he just kind of was stuck in the spot where, you know, do you go back to stock, or do you go back to stock, or what do you do, you know? And so the car basically sat, and it got to the point where he just hated the car because nobody could help him, and he was just kind of like SOL really. So what I'm doing is I'm just gonna kind of drive it around real quick, and I always do this with all the cars that we work on. Like, if you know, if it came from another shop because it had issues or whatever, we always kind of do just a quick test drive on it to see how it runs. And you know, we don't beat on it or anything like that. We just kind of give it a normal drive just to check it, to see what kind of problems that it may or may not have. Obviously, we've got the Christmas tree lights here in the dash, so all the lights are on, obviously. And on a Subaru, if you get a check engine light, all the lights come on. Cruise control don't work. Hill assist doesn't work. ABS though should be working. I don't think that light comes on with the check engine light, but let's make sure we don't get plowed by anybody, which is normally not fun. So I got our IAT bung here, and it looks like the only spot that we can get it's going to be right here. I've got a little bit of grease on it, and I'm just gonna boop, do that number right there, and it's left an impression, and then we'll hit it with like a more permanent mark. All right, there's my super artistic mark there, so that should be close enough. A little bit hard to trace that, but there's a mark there. Here, but I don't know how people get it out. If you know how to get it out without trying to take this bezel off, feel free to let me know in the comments. But for now, I'm just gonna, this piece looks like it comes off separately, so I'm just gonna try to take it off, and hopefully we'll be in this adventure together, and this is just the easier way of taking it off. It's really weird because a few months ago, or maybe a year ago, I actually had a VA STI that came in that had a throttle code, and it needed the ECM replaced. And I had to drive it to Subaru and unmarry it and then drive it back. Pulling this panel out is definitely the way to go. It started to come back to me a little bit, and the thing that kind of got me was the side panel here needs to come out, and the trim piece that goes right here needs to come out. There's a screw hidden behind there. And like I said, I pulled one out like a year ago, or got it ready to pull out or something like that, and it just started kind of coming back to me. So now, turn on the flashlight here on my cell phone because my actual light's charging. Now you can see the 10 mil bolt that's hidden up there. So we'll pop that sucker out and this ECU will come down. Jesus, what a complete pain in the ass, man. So in order for me to get it, I had to take off the 2 nuts for this module here. Then I was able to stick my hand in there, and I was barely able to get this guy in here, right, with a 10 mil. And I was able just to kind of give it just enough to break it loose. Then I had to remove it and get my hand in there and then squeeze. And look at this shit. Like literally, look at this shit. Why was it so hard to remove this? What makes it so difficult is this ledge right here. That's the hole. This is the hole for it right there. So you really can't get anything in here because it stops you. Man, what a complete pain in the dick. But I persevered and I won. So you Subaru guys out there, if you know an easier way to remove the ECU out of a VA STI, please let me know, because this was way too hard. All right, so we get the ECU off the bracket. For those who have not had the displeasure to do this, and this covers a lot of the Subaru ECUs, and the reason why you got to know this is because if you ever go link ECU, you got to reuse the case. So when this is all the way flat, this metal retainer sits flush against these 2 little pegs, and what you do is you just stick a screwdriver in between these 2 pegs and just wedge it in there. And once you kind of push it, and once it pushes, the screwdriver will fall out and it'll unwedge itself. Then you just rinse and repeat on the other side, stick a screwdriver in here and then push it out, and once it's out, you just kind of wiggle it out and it pops out. So hopefully you guys got that and makes your life easier. So here's the link ECU. We're not opening it just yet, but this is it right here. We actually have to make some cuts into the ECU case to make, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but there's a couple of things right here that we've got to cut in the ECU, or on the case rather, for these provisions. Okay, so that's the square that you're supposed to make for the ECU. 2 little holes there to put a zip tie through just to hold the wire. And there's like another piece that covers the ECU in the front that we've got to cut out, and that's based off of their measurements here. So hopefully we get it close enough, but that should be it right there. So the one thing that I do want to mention though is, like, look for the A5 logo in the pictures, just to give you kind of like a frame of reference of how the ECU is actually sitting. So I'm going to scroll down really quick here. If you look, you can see the A5 is right there, and that's basically how it's supposed to look. So this car we are going to pre-wire for flex fuel. So as you can see here, there's that. And then we got the CAN bus wiring, which I accidentally cut a little too short, but not the end of the world. And so we've got power, ground, and CAN high, CAN low. That's all there. And if everything goes well, we should be able to stick this sucker back into its home. in the ass. But the link's in, the 4 wires here for the flex fuel and CAN bus stuff. Then we've got the data wire somewhere back here. Oh, there we go. So that's the wire for the USB cable. So we're ready to get a startup map on this here. Oh yeah, this thing's on E85. Whoops. Sounds like a weird car, right?
You collect or?
Yes. Alright, so quick and dirty tune, just enough to get the car started, so we know that it's like working relatively okay. And then from here on out, we will get the wideband installed and a couple other things, so yay. Okay, so now we're just gonna clean up for now. We're gonna set everything aside, all the hardware and stuff, to one spot. That way when we're done, we can obviously reinstall everything. So, just wanted a reminder, this tool from Harbor Freight definitely saved our lives from having to do this install. I hope no one ever has to do it ever again because it sucked. But like I said, everything is finally in, so call it a day and then we'll start back up next week.